So, Predator Badlands was directed by Dan Trachtenberg and it stars Elle Fanning, and it's about a predator who is seen as the runt of the litter who goes on a mission to try to prove himself right and try to prove that he's a member of the clan and deserves to be. But when he encounters a robot, they wind up going on this journey and they wind up finding each other in like this weird found family sort of situation. So, this was a movie that I was kind of all over the place with. On one hand, the Predator franchise, I do enjoy them. I do enjoy Predator 1, obviously. Predator 2, I enjoy as kind of like a guilty pleasure. Then Predators, I didn't care for. The Predator, the less said about the Predator, the better. I'm not even counting Alien versus Predator, if I'm being honest. But I was very excited by Prey. I thought that was very good. I thought that was a nice surprise. It was a very unique take on the Predator storyline and such. So I was kind of curious when I heard Dan Trachtenberg, who directed Prey, was coming back to direct another Predator movie, Badlands. But also, he also directed Killer of Killers, which I thought was gorgeously animated and also kind of provided new interesting spins to the Predator lore and such. So I'm kind of curious to see what this movie is going to be like. Although I was very nervous because they announced this movie was going to be PG-13 as opposed to an R rating. I'm like, why exactly? And this movie itself, honestly, this movie's a really good time. This movie's a lot of fun. I think this is definitely one of the better Predator movies. If Dan Trachtenberg keeps making Predator movies, I'm going to be happy. So I think this is actually a lot of fun. I think this is a good time, and definitely kind of a movie that definitely surprised me considering all my reservations. So let's start off with the acting. I think the two leads are fantastic. Elle Fanning, I thought she was pretty good. She surprisingly has two roles in this movie, which I won't spoil too much of it, but I thought she did a pretty good job in both of them. I thought she carried the movie quite a bit. Also, I may pronounce this name, but Demetrius Schuster Kolo Matanagi. I'm probably mispronouncing that, and I apologize for mispronouncing that name. I thought he was really good as the Predator. I thought he was very interesting. A Predator with actual human characteristics. I thought that was very interesting. And that's kind of something I really like about this movie. It's kind of a twist on Predator storylines and such. Obviously, we kind of see the trailers as like, what if the Predator wasn't the villain of the movie? What if they were actually the hero of the movie? And I do think that's very fascinating. I do think with this movie, they actually give the character of Deck a lot more human qualities than a lot of movies that normally would do this. If it was just another regular Predator movie made by someone else other than Dan Trachtenberg, it probably would have been like something about another Predator just coming and just trying to kill all humans and such. But also, I do think that the action is also really good. I was also kind of worried because it was like, are they going to tone down the action? Are they going to tone down the violence and such? No, for a PG-13 movie, this movie does get pretty violent. It just gets extremely violent at times, especially towards the end. But they work around that as like, oh, most of the things that are being killed are not human, so it's okay. And it's like, that is really stupid. The MPAA, yeah, I have a lot of issues with them, but that's for another time. But the fact that it is pretty action-packed, there are several sequences in this movie that are just non-stop action. I thought that was really cool. There were some sequences where it's like, just when you think that these characters are kind of going through one thing and it's over, next thing you know, oh, here's another threat to them. And it's like, that's very well done. And I do think that it is very action-packed. If you're a fan of the action in the Predator movies, I think this movie will not disappoint you. Also, the movie is actually pretty fun. It is pretty funny at times. And I would say it's funnier than a lot of other Predator movies. I think it's more naturally funny than something like, say, The Predator, which I thought the comedy in that movie was pretty bad. At least this movie, the characters are funny unintentionally, so I think it kind of works for this movie. I do think this movie is a lot of fun. If you were concerned about the fact that this movie has a PG-13 rating as opposed to an R rating, I think that is minuscule. I don't think that actually matters because I think this movie is still a pretty good time. But let's talk about some of the things I don't like. Kind of with some movies, I do think there are some pacing issues here and there, but they're mostly towards the beginning. It's like once we get towards the end of the movie, like it just builds and builds. It just becomes more chaotic and action-packed and such. And I do think that by the end, it's like those pacing issues are kind of just gone. Also, is this movie a little too cutesy? I've heard some people complain about it where it's like, oh, they Disney-fied it and made it, all this and such. And I'm like, shut up. Just shut up. I'm just so tired of it. But there's a part of me that watched this movie and I'm like, it is kind of like a family-friendly Predator movie in a sense. I mean, I did see at least one family with a young kid in that theater, but yeah, it's kind of weird that this movie is kind of family-oriented at times. But I get, like, there's kind of a found family in this movie, so I guess that kind of makes sense, but it's just kind of weird that this Predator movie kind of feels like that at times. Even the way it kind of ends, which it has a mid-credits scene, which I won't spoil by any means, it kind of felt like it was from one of those cheesy family movies where it's like, again, I won't spoil it, but it just felt like it was a ridiculous moment where I'm like, really? Okay, that's how we're ending it? All right. But overall, I would say this is still a pretty fun time. Dan Trachtenberg, I think he's doing a fantastic job with the Predator franchise so far. I enjoyed Prey, I enjoyed Killer of Killers, and I enjoyed this movie. And I'm glad that he finally gets a Predator movie on the big screen. I don't know why they looked at Prey a few years back and they're like, why don't we just put that straight on Hulu? Why wasn't that in theaters? So Predator Badlands, I think the two leads are pretty fantastic. I think the twist on the Predator lore is very interesting. I do think the action is just nonstop, and I do think it's very well done. It's very over the top and ridiculous, and I think it's such a good time. I do think it can be fun. It can be funny at times. And even though I don't like some of the pacing issues, I do agree with some of the... I do think they kind of tone down some things in terms of humor, where it's like, it is kind of, for lack of a better term, a little cutesy at times. I do think this movie is a lot of fun. Again, if you were concerned because of the PG-13 rating, again, I think that is nothing. I think that doesn't matter. And I think this movie is definitely one of the better Predator movies. I would say this is better than Predator 2. Not as good as Prey, not as good as The Predator, of course, but so much better than Predator, so much better than The Predator. But I'm having a good time with these Predator movies in this renaissance. I'll give Predator Badlands 3 out of 4 stars. See it. So, what is your favorite Predator movie? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat, and stay safe.